Well, despite the fact that the family were deeply involved in harness racing for many, many years, my next guest was told by his parents, you can get involved in harness racing, but only when you have a solid job behind you. But that's exactly what Jamie Donovan did, and the numbers have added up ever since. I caught up with Jamie on one of his rare trips to Club Menangle. Jamie, good to catch up with you. You had your first visit to Club Menangle as a trainer last week with the heat of the carousel. Fast tracker successful. You're back again tonight.
Yeah, no, it was good. We sort of, we're optimistic he was going to be competitive last week, but we probably used it more as a guide to see like where he was at, if he was up to that sort of metropolitan company, and yeah, we got the job done. We're back here for the final.
Born and bred in Redcliffe, we can't say you're a former Queenslander because once a Queenslander, always a Queenslander.
Yeah, that's it. Broncos through and through, Maroons through and through, so yeah, for sure.
You could be in for a huge weekend next week.
Yeah, it could be good. And, Broncos, Lions, time will tell.
Well, Jamie, your career in harness racing, how did it all unfold? Following in the footsteps of your dad, Michael?
Yeah, Dad was, sort of always involved. As a kid, he's a full-time trainer. When I was one, we moved out to a place called Sanford, and he was a private trainer for John and Annette Geiger. Then he sort of, growing up, we always still had horses in work, and yeah, sort of was always involved in the industry, was probably never going to be out of the industry, but just sort of, Mum and Dad sort of said, look, it's too much pressure, probably hard to make it full time, get a career behind you, which is what I did.
And that career of accountancy, and as I said in the intro, the numbers have been adding up nicely for you.
Yeah, it was sort of that thing. I went to TAFE, did a diploma. When I finished my diploma, I thought I'll have a go doing horses full time, still had my junior driver claim, but unfortunately that was September 2007. It was equine influenza, so racing was a bit slow and all up in the air, so I thought I'll go and get a job, and I spent 11 years with that firm in Brisbane, so I thought, it's too good of a job to walk away from, so I did the horses part-time ever since.
Your late father, Michael, also worked with a very famous name in harness racing, Rod McCall.
Yeah, Dad spent a lot of, I think in the 80s he spent a lot of time there working with Ron. At the time he was training for the Ingham brothers, and the McCall family were always, good family friends growing up.
Jamie, you're now firmly entrenched in Tamworth, where you're certainly making a name for yourself, but you moved to that particular part of the world for a couple of reasons.
Yeah, my now wife Rachel, we sort of did long distance or so for about 18 months, and I was sort of looking for a bit of a change, and made the move to Tamworth in July 2018, and sort of got a good job there. It's a lot of people say to me, what's Tamworth like? And it's really a great work lifestyle balance. For regional areas, we've both got professional jobs, but we're on 12 k's from town, 7 k's from the track, and got a property, and we're able to do horses and really get away from work when we need to.
Yes, there's a hobby trainer, but you've got a very solid team behind you.
Yeah, it's we sort of always dabbled in around that 6 to 8 mark, and whether there's success or just contacts, it's continued to grow, and I think at the moment there's 12 or 14 in work, and there's a few more to come back in from the paddock, so it's definitely a juggling act with full-time jobs.
The racing at Tamworth is certainly going along in leaps and bounds, always good numbers and always very competitive racing.
Yeah, it's a very, very hard-working club. There's a lot of success every week. There's 135, over 120 noms every meeting. We're always it would be good to see 4 meetings a month consistently. But I'm sort of lucky I've got the odd week we've got to go to Newcastle at the moment. My team's competitive, so I don't mind the trek down the Hunter.
Now, Fast Tracker, the horse in question, going around the carousel final tonight, came via a phone call from Grant Dixon, who was in touch with Kevin Seymour.
Yeah, it's sort of, association sort of started there with Grant. He rang me back in May and we purchased another horse, and he just said, I'll be in touch when there's others. And Mr. Seymour was having a reduction of his racing stock, and about 4 or 5 weeks ago, Grant rang me and said, there's 2 or 3 here for sale, something that might suit you that'd be interested. And by that night, I'd sold 25% in 3 horses, so I rang Grant back the next morning and took all 3 of them.
You're also very a keen student as far as the breeding side of the industry.
Yeah, I sort of had a mare that I raced a few years ago. She wasn't the best ability, but she was a good type and had a good turn of his foot, and I thought I'll throw a ball at the stumps and have a go at breeding, and that first foal was a filly called Bella Rippin, and she was probably one of the best horses I've had, and she sort of gave me a good ride as a young horse, and I thought, okay, well, she's throwing a good foal, I'll keep going back, and now I'm still breeding with that mare and also now breeding with Bella Rippin.
Jamie, as your career started to unfold, who's been an influence as far as the training of it was concerned?
Yeah, it was away from Dad. Given where we resided, Graham Bow was in our local area at Sanford, and he was a great influence. And also through a family connection, Neil Day. Growing up, like Dad sort of knew Frank pretty well, and we've always been good family friends. And I learned a lot from Neil with my school holiday visits down there and everything.
Yeah, you've decided to take a back seat as far as the driving is concerned. You're very good mates with Peter McMullen, who you've had a lot of success with.
Yeah, I sort of, I was lucky when I was in Brisbane being good, best mates with Peter. We were each other's best man at each other's wedding, and he sort of, when you got one of the best in the country, that sort of was happy to sort of commit to your stable as best he could. I thought, well, I sort of basically backed off driving. When I moved to Tamworth, I sort of, my hand was probably forced to take it back up again. Just, all the drivers there already sort of had a commitment to most stables, and now I pick and choose. If I had it my way, I probably wouldn't drive at all. Leave it to the professionals, but sometimes you got to drive yourself because there's just, every other driver is sort of taken up.
You've got a pretty consistent team of horses. There's one in particular, Paratrooper. It must be frustrating with this fella because he offers so much.
Yeah, well, he was actually the first horse that we bought from Grant Stables. That's what sort of started the association there, and he is frustrating to say the least. Like he ran third in an APG final for us. He's made a regional championship final, but he's won one race in 18 months. But in saying that, he's earned well over 40,000. The owners that actually own him have reinvested their money into Fast Tracker, and they've already told me after Fast Tracker's earnings last week to reinvest into the next one.
It's always good to keep the owners happy.
Yeah, that's it. So, one lot of those owners are actually Rachel's work, a couple of bosses and work colleagues. So, it's good.
That makes it even more important.
Yeah, that's it. So, we got Rachel's work, got two now, and now a lot of my bosses and colleagues at work have bought into one as well now. So, hopefully, I can do a job for them.
Well, Jamie, always good to bring in new owners to the industry. Good luck moving forward, and good luck tonight with Fast Tracker.
No worries. Thank you.